Hey, and we are live. Hello to Ben Kerno. Good afternoon, Captain Quinn. Hello, and Jaunty Goblin. Gosh, we are kicking it off here in fine style. Of course, we've got Keira with us as well.
Hello, everybody.
Because it is indeed Stu and Keira's Star Trek Sunday.
It wouldn't be right without both of us here. I love that.
Absolutely. Although we do occasionally. It'll happen on time to
It's
time.
more than often it's you without me because I'm just so busy.
Well, it's the nature of our obviously both of us are actors, and that can be quite, it sort of throws your schedule all over the place. Ben has asked, has there been a transporter accident and we've swapped around? Do you know what? Every week I do this and I never know how it was. So, yeah. We're going to swap positions from time to time. And hello, Ed. And yes, Ed, congratulations on your second jab. Brilliant. Well done for that. Gosh, it's been a hell of a week. We've been talking off air about our week, and it's very, very hot today. Captain Quinn makes a point of saying, Keira, that you're rocking the old Janeway stuff's getting real vest.
Thanks. This is it's too hot to wear an official uniform, so I'm going to wear this and put a com badge on it. And this is all you're getting today. I haven't even done my hair or anything. It's just too hot. So com badge makes anything into cosplay. That's my opinion.
That is very, very true, and especially when they went back in time and they hid the com badge under a lapel or something, like or had shoulder pads stuffed with com badges because it was the 80s. and yeah, I'm going light on the old cosplay myself. Although we're both in official cosplay, it's got to be said.
Yeah.
Gotta be sad.
I appreciate the minimal effort when it's hot, but still rocking the Star Trek fandom. So,
and I am so jealous of that iced latte.
Ooh,
My
yes.
goodness.
I'm
jealous of you for having it. I don't want to be the iced latte.
Yeah, it's really easy to make actually. I use a little bit of chai syrup in it, so mine's like a dirty chai latte but with coffee, and I blend the coffee up with some hot water so it goes all frothy. Pour it over some ice and then fill it up with oat milk.
Well, do you know what? When all this pandemic is over, we're going to be streaming live from your place, and I expect that every week.
I'll do some Star Trek cocktails, and I'll make us a Ractagino or something.
Captain Quinn says they quite enjoy a turmeric coffee.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I actually used to drink turmeric lattes quite a lot because they're really good for you, actually. The turmeric has a lot of benefits for your health. So, yeah, it's a good one.
See, I thought I was going all sort of middle class with my green tea to boost my metabolism. But
green tea is also good for you, so there you go.
Apparently so. Now I've got it in a Star Trek mug. Don't know how easily we can't see that, but it is a Star Trek
I
mug.
can see it.
Yeah. Hello, John Scott. Yes, thank you. I do like the old disc, and it is a proper Discovery T-shirt with the insignias on. You know that they go running around the ship. I won't be running. Just saying.
It's too hot to run. Too hot to run. I actually got sunburnt yesterday, so I've done my fair share of being out in the sun, and today I'm going to stay indoors. And as soon as I'm not live streaming, I'm turning my fan back on.
I'm still. I think outdoors is still a myth. I'm still hiding myself away. No, COVID. No, bad. But we will be going out. No, that sounds wrong. Not going out like that. We will be going outdoors for the premiere of the Voyager documentary, though, won't we?
Will we?
We're going to. Yes. We don't know what date it is yet. But
I don't know what date.
We will be going. We both did the Kickstarter thing. To
Okay, I thought you knew something I
For the
didn't
premiere?
about when it
No.
was being released. And I panicked. I was like, "There's something I don't know about the Voyager documentary."
No. You're our source of information for that, so no. And of course, we will be going outdoors when we go to Chicago next year.
Yeah.
I don't have any more information about that either. I just want to say that there is an end to being indoors. God, that was seamless. Absolutely seamless.
Oh well, it's one of those days. For summer, we're allowed to be seamless.
Oh dear. Shall we crack on with today?
Let's do it. Tell us what we've got up to do today.
Well, actually, before we get into the out and outs of today, one of the things we're going to be doing is we're going to be reviewing Star Trek V. Now, before we get into our usual show, there are two things I wanted to make. First of all, apologies to anyone who was expecting the watch along on Wednesday. I started the stream. I had some personal things happening just as I was starting the stream, which threw my headspace, and then when no one was there, anyway, I shot out again very quickly. But I have watched Star Trek V. Have you had a chance to watch Star Trek V this week, Keira?
I watched it this morning in bed. It was a lovely Sunday morning.
Brilliant. I can think of better ways to spend Sunday mornings watching any other Star Trek film. I was not going anywhere. I shouldn't on that, just to be clear. But I'm going to give us in so much trouble today. I just know I am.
You're watching yourself now, aren't you?
Like a hawk. Yeah, so yes, we will be doing a review of Star Trek. But actually, before we do the review, I think it's fair to, I know I will probably be shitting on it. I think that's a fair statement, which will be unsurprising to anyone who's heard me. But I just wanted to say, like, in particular, like, William Shatner directing it, and it's easy, and we know this as actors, don't we, Keira, that it is easy to be a critic, to be on the sidelines and to pour scorn over something at someone else's work and to find fault with it. But I'm reminded of Theodore Roosevelt's quote. I was thinking about this during the week, like, oh yeah, it'd be great to sort of poke fun at this and poke fun at that and all the rest of it. And there is plenty to poke fun of. But Theodore Roosevelt said, "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or if the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasm, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails whilst daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat." Now that's not us, because we are out in the arena as well. Thank you.
But I was reminded very strongly of that episode of Next Generation where Picard quotes Hamlet.
What a piece of work is man. How? No, I mean, don't get me quoting Shakespeare. We will be here all day because... Yeah,
don't get us started.
And tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from date. No, sorry, go off on one. So when we are reviewing Star Trek V, let's bear in mind that he did put himself out there. Certainly Shatner has directed more Star Trek movies than you or I, Keira.
Yeah.
I think that's very fair to say. And when it comes down to it, he did it. He put himself out there. All credit to him for that. Now I can pause.
I just wanted to say, if anyone just saw me like wildly like flinging my hands around, I was trying to catch a fly. I wasn't just being crazy, I promise.
I thought you were doing a little dance.
My interpretive dance, that's Shatner directing. Oh, dear me. Yes, that's exactly. He's reaching for a raspberry.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
So,
and then
after
our review, we will be doing a deep dive into religion in Star Trek, which is something I'm excited about because although I'm not religious myself, I've always been really interested in other religions, and going into sort of fictional religions is a part of that. So I'm excited for our deep dive today.
Excellent. And speaking of religions, we're going to be paying a bit of a visit to the Divine Treasury, of course. Ooh.
Yeah. And then, as always, we'll be finishing with the latest Star Trek news.
Now, some people might be expecting Akira's cosplay. Do you want to cover that off first?
Yes, and I'm very happy to, later on, I can go into detail about the progress I've made so far, and I will reveal what it was that I was making. So if anyone has been trying to guess what prop I was making, drop some comments in the chat and have your guesses read out. And then I'll reveal it at the end, what it was meant to be, and I'll show you what it isn't.
And of course, if you were watching last week, Kira did tell you. So this is a test to see if you actually pay attention out there.
I didn't tell people. I said it was going to be a surprise.
Oh, I thought you did. Oh, excellent. Oh, no,
you know what it is.
Follow you on TikTok.
Yes, and I didn't post it on TikTok either because I didn't want to post a video of it half finished. So I haven't posted it anywhere. There's literally maybe 2 or 3 people who know what I'm making, and you're one of them, Stu.
Oh, I'm privileged. I'm really glad I didn't spoil it then. I really did. Fantastic. Oh, well, we'll do that as part of the Divine Treasury then, shall we?
Awesome. Yeah, let's do it.
Excellent. Excellent. So, diving straight in. Oh, well, actually, before we do, a couple of quick mentions from the chat. Shatner is in a patch on Frakes as director. He is Mr. Star Trek when it comes to directing. That's from Captain Quinn. Totally agree. Totally. Frakes gets it. Shatner didn't. Yeah, and Captain Quinn also says Shakari is supposed to be a play on Sean Connery's name. Yes, that is not in our trivia this week, but that is absolutely true because it was Sean Connery who was originally they wanted to play Cyborg. And you can see it in Morris Luckinose. Him, yeah, his you can see it in his performance and his look. I think it is fantastic.
Nice.
So, Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, released the 9th of June 1989. Now, I'm going to add a little bit in here this week because I thought this might be interesting. Also happening in the Trekverse at the same time, it actually was released between the two Next Generation episodes, Up the Long Ladder and Manhunt. So it gives you a bit of an idea of where it sits. The film's taglines were, it's got 5 taglines. I struggle to come up with one when I'm doing a piece, but yeah, it had 5. The greatest enterprise of all is adventure. Terrible. Adventure and imagination will meet at the final frontier. You can see what they're going for here. The crew of the Starship Enterprise is taking you where no one has gone before. I mean, it's milking it, really milking it. It's a place beyond mystery, beyond time, and until now, beyond reach. The last barrier in the universe is about to be broken. Well, that one at least is original.
I like that one.
I like that one. I like that one. An expedition to a remote planet, a surrender to a Vulcan renegade, an attack by an ancient enemy, a race towards the centre of the galaxy. I mean, that's pretty much a pitch. That last one. And it's got spoilers in it.
There's just so much going on there. Why couldn't they just have one really good one and just stick with it?
Yeah. And it's not, I mean, if it's got 3 sentences in there, it's not a tagline.
No. Taglines are supposed to be short. Although, to be fair, in the like recent times, I find a lot of people take liberties with the taglines, and they do end up being quite long sometimes, which I don't like.
Liberties.
So, when a renegade Vulcan captures the Federation, Klingon, and Romulan ambassadors on Nimbus 3, the so-called planet of galactic peace, it can only mean one thing. The vacation is over. Captain James T. Kirk and the crew of the new Starship Enterprise A are pressed back into service to come to the rescue. But when the Vulcan has a prior association with Spock, it allows him to seize control of the Enterprise and put it on course for the center of the galaxy, where he and his followers believe they find the place from which creation sprung.
So, you watched it this morning. I actually watched it last night. What did you think?
My first thought was that the opening scene was really good. I really loved the sort of, I mean, it wasn't the most original sort of introduction to a character. It wasn't the most original opening to a film. It's the kind of thing that's been done before. Like quite a lot of Western films have that sort of lone rider coming in a sandstorm sort of situation. But I enjoyed that. It was well shot and it was very pretty to look at. And as I sort of got through the film a little bit more, I was just kind of like I enjoyed it for the entertainment value, but I can also understand why people didn't like it. Is it really weird if I say I'm just indifferent to it? Like I don't like or dislike it?
No, I think that's, do you know what? In all fairness, that is probably the most balanced view, because it has a lot of problems for the real geeky geeks who like me, who get really heavily. I've got technical manuals coming at me and I've actually read them. So every 5 minutes I'm spotting, but that's not right. That's not how the ship should be. How many decks has it got? That kind of thing, which it really doesn't have 78, by the way, which it says in that turbo lift. And deck 1 would be at the top, not deck 78. Anyway, that turbo lift shaft, there's so many problems. But, I mean, that's the point, that distracts me from the entertainment value, which undoubtedly it's got.
Yeah, it was entertaining for sure. I think maybe part of the reason I didn't notice all of those things that you would notice is because I was doing my nails at the same time. Because I struggle to just sit and watch a film. It's different if it's a TV series because they're short, like episodes are shorter. But when I'm watching a film, I need something to keep my hands busy. So I did my nails.
Okay. Oh, and they look absolutely green, Romulan.
Yeah. Yes. But I enjoyed it. It was interesting. I think my favourite bit was Uhura doing that exotic dance on the cliff sort of thing. That was I didn't expect that at all. It just sort of came out of nowhere. I was just like, what's going on? So yeah, enjoyed that. The ending was quite interesting. The all the faces coming out in the clouds. Spectacular effects.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my god, when Kirk falls off the mountain, and he's just, I actually laughed out loud at the effects of him falling. I was just like, oh my god, surely this isn't real. They didn't put this in the cinema, did they? Like, oh.
But it was the 1980s.
But they had technology back then to make good special effects. Don't forget, Alien came out in the 80s, and Aliens, and they have some amazing special effects.
Well, Alien came out in the 70s.
79, wasn't it?
so 10 years prior. That's the thing, though. So technologically, we were moving from physical sets, from physical props, from actually doing proper stunts to going through this phase into more green screen. CGI was starting to make a bit of an entrance. And while those technologies were in their infancy, so very imperfect and a long way from where they are now, we were in that sort of transitional state. So it was never going to be as good as the physical props from slightly earlier, but never as good as the more perfected versions of what they were later on.
There's no excuse. No excuse. No excuse for that anyway. I'll let them off with the faces in the clouds because they at least looked interesting to look at, but that fall from the mountain, no, that's unforgivable.
Yeah, and Captain Quinn makes an interesting point about the humour in the film. For me, that was a misstep. Now, I'm going to go all unpopular opinion now, but it's a bit like Guardians of the Galaxy 2 for me.
Ooh.
There was too much humour, and it was too forced, and they, in both cases, Star Trek V and Guardians of the Galaxy 2, they wouldn't allow themselves a serious moment because everything had to be a joke. And probably Guardians of the Galaxy 2 was worse for that. But in both cases, that was... Yeah.
I did sort of enjoy the comedy elements. I loved the bit where... Was it Scotty who gets knocked out on the metal bar?
Yes.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed that. That was funny.
I know this ship like the back of my hand. Doink.
Yeah, but it didn't feel like Star Trek. So while I enjoyed that kind of comedy, it didn't feel 100% right being there.
Well, farce and pratfalls is just so un-Star Trek.
Yeah, it was a bit out of place. But yeah, I've just seen the comment in the chat about them around the campfire singing "Row Your Boat."
Yeah.
That caught me off guard because for those of you who don't know, I work in a preschool and I sing that song about 20 times a day. So for me to watch William Shatner singing it around a campfire, I was just like, what? What's going on?
Hopefully a bit more sober than he did.
Most of the time, yeah.
Row your boat. Yeah.
It is hard to stay sober when you're changing 50 nappies every day, but we managed.
I couldn't do that sober. No. All credit to you. I get really hung up on the technicalities. That turbo lift, it is really, it plays on me. And how far away is the centre of the galaxy, bearing in mind how long it took Voyager to get twice that distance?
Oh, what do they say?
Well, they reckoned it was going to take Voyager 80 years, didn't they?
Yeah, so Voyager was 80 years to travel 70,000 light years, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
What do they say in the film?
At the edge of the galaxy. We're on the edge of the Western Spiral Arm. Logically, it's going to take 40 years to get to the centre of the galaxy.
And it doesn't, does it?
It doesn't. It takes about 5 minutes.
Oh, dear. Well... Janeway clearly made an error then.
She did. She should have gone through the centre of the galaxy. That was the problem. Yeah, see? She'd been home in days.
She's not listening in her Captain Kirk class at Starfleet Academy. Jesus, Janeway, sort yourself out.
Yeah. So there's that. I don't have so much of an issue. I know a lot of people at the time were really up in arms. How can they just introduce a sibling for Spock? I mean, you've not watched Discovery yet, have you?
But I do know about Burnham.
You know,
so
okay, great.
It's not the first time or the last time. I reckon they'll do it again. One day. He had a twin.
He did well. Anyway, but yeah. Firelock says she was putting it all down as overtime. Yeah, back pay.
Yeah, I like that. Good job.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do that.
So there's that. The turbo lift scene. It does not have that. Right. This ship does not have 78 decks. It has 24 decks. Does not have 78 decks. Even the Enterprise D only has 42 decks. Not 78. Sorry. I get quite annoyed about that turbo lift scene. And the jet boots. Why do we never see them again?
Yeah, they were so cool.
And
I've never seen them before in any Trek. Like, what the hell? They'd be so useful.
Yeah. And speaking of useful, an entire handheld piece of equipment designed solely for producing a single marshmallow.
Was it me, or were the subtitles wrong when I watched it? But he says marshmallow.
He does say marshmallow.
Oh, okay. Because I've got problems with my hearing, so I watch everything with the subtitles on, and it said marshmallow, and I was like, did he really say that? And then they all just carry on saying marshmallow.
Well, that's, to me, that was another technical issue, because Spock would not make that kind of mistake.
Right, and if he'd looked in the library or whatever it was that he said he did, surely he would have read that it said mellow. I don't know.
Well, they've tried sort of explaining that to say that Dr. McCoy, knowing that Spock would check the library, got an engineer to change the word marshmallow to marshmallows, so he'd embarrass himself.
I love that sort of retconning.
I'm not. Although Captain Quinn has suggested could have been the Vulcan translation, he might have used Google Translate. Does not always
That's an
get
interesting
it right.
thought. Is Google Translate still a thing?
I use it.
No, I mean like in Star Trek.
Oh, in Star Trek.
I still use Google Translate too, Stu.
Okay. I mean, maybe in the 23rd century they've actually got Google to start paying tax and they've gone bust.
Oh, yeah. Quite possibly.
That could be it. So, yeah, it's. I mean, all right. I can see it's a fun film. It's great to see. You mentioned Uhura. It's great to see her character being fleshed out a bit more. Pardon the pun. That was unintentional. But yeah, to see a bit more substance to her character.
Yeah.
That was good.
When I was comparing her in this film to the other one we watched, the motion picture, and there's just so much more to her in this film, and I feel like perhaps they waited too long to really give her her own sort of personality, because I felt like she didn't really have a personality in the other one. She was very sort of quiet and almost timid and like very sort of hesitant. And in this one, she was like, yeah, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do it. And I'm going to be really confident while we're doing it as well. And I was like, yes, I love this.
Yeah.
But I didn't get that vibe from her in the motion picture. So.
No, it was like Uhura came along.
She was there.
The motion picture was not much of a character story for anyone, really.
No. And, oh my goodness, considering I have seen the Star Trek films when I was a child, but like more than 20 years ago, and I literally can't remember of any of them. I don't think I'd seen this one before, but I think I've seen the previous four. But it was just really wild in my mind to think how vastly different the vibe from this film was to the vibe in the motion picture. It is just like, it could be about completely separate characters. They're just so different. And the comedy elements that we've spoken about, and just the general sort of feeling that the film gave off. It doesn't feel like it's from the same series at all.
No, and for me, I mean, it's an excellent observation, because for me that's one of the issues with Shatner being at the helm, because he's the one who sets the tone for all these things, isn't he? It's just one of the issues for me with Shatner as a person, his politics and personal opinions to one side. I don't think he understands the franchise. I don't think he understands the universe well enough to be contributing on things like that. I mean, sure, he can play Kirk till the cows come home, but it takes someone like Frakes, who Captain Quinn mentioned earlier, who he will invest himself in all the technical manuals, and he'll read up and he'll understand what he's talking about before he tries to actually lead it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I feel like Shatner doesn't really have a grasp or understanding of most things, to be honest. So that definitely doesn't work.
Very true. The Shat, yes.
Oh dear. Well, he did shat all over this film, so.
He certainly did. You know the only reason why he was director of this in the first place?
Why?
Well, in Star Trek 4, the only way they could get Leonard Nimoy to come back was by basically agreeing to him directing it. And Nimoy and Shatner were in such a massive pissing contest with each other that each of their contracts said if one got something, the other one had to have it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, absolutely. And they both had this. I'm not elevating one above the other in this particular respect. So the fact that they could only get Nimoy back by giving him a director's chair, they had to give Shatner the director's chair as well.
Wow, that's fascinating, isn't it? I can't imagine being that petty. And they're not young people anymore. They're they're quite old in this film. And it's kind of like, did you ever have a chance to grow up along the way somehow?
You've, I mean, you're an actor. You've met other actors, right?
Yeah.
We're all petty and small-minded, and yeah.
I don't feel like I am, though.
You're not. You're fine. You're great. I am.
Oh, maybe I have a hidden streak somewhere. Maybe there is.
But when you get old.
Now I think about it, there is someone who really, really bugs me on TikTok, who every time I come up with a good idea, she copies me. And it's like Star Trek content, and she has more followers than me, so her content always gets loads of likes and shares and stuff, and I'm like, but I did that first, and I'm just over here like, so maybe I am a bit petty, because that does really annoy me, but I've not ever done anything about it.
First, you did it better. And I can say that without even seeing this person. Do you want a name and shame so we can go around and duff them up?
No, because we're actually friends.
Okay. Right. So I'll go through your friends list now. Start the hashtag Keira did it better.
Oh my God, that would be amazing. Yes, do it.
Yeah, right.
Tell her off.
You heard it here, viewers. Hashtag Keira did it better on TikTok. Do you do hashtags on TikTok? I'm not even signed up to it.
Yeah, you can do hashtags on TikTok.
Right, there we go. Fantastic. Shall we give our viewers some trivia? Right, we'll stop the dumping session and give them some trivia. What do you reckon?
Let's do it. Let's trivialise this film.
Okay. So, you mentioned the scene with Uhura and the fan dance scene. So, during pre-production meetings, screenwriter David Loughery jokingly proposed to have Commander Uhura appear as an erotic dancer in order to lure away the hostage takers from the Paradise compound. he was rather surprised when the producers approved of the idea straight away.
Which, that makes sense, because it was a real struggle for them to be allowed to even show their navels in the mirror episode, wasn't it?
Yes. Well, that was 20 odd years earlier.
How times changed.
Indeed.
Love it. Well, as an accomplished singer and dancer, Nichelle Nichols provided an authentic performance of the fan dance routine in this film, but was absolutely outraged when her vocals in the scene were later dubbed over in editing without her approval. Wrong. So wrong.
It's a tricky one, and it gets into the real nitty-gritty of contracts on a film. It's why you need a good agent. Yeah. So I'm not suggesting Nichelle Nichols' agent isn't a good one. They're undoubtedly absolutely fantastic, and if you want to sign me, that's fine. I'm joking. I have a good agent already. So moving swiftly, I really am going to get myself into trouble today. So according to George Takei, he originally turned down this film because he didn't want to be directed by the Shat, with whom he had had, of course, a long-standing feud. However, Shatner managed to convince him to reprise the role.
That he did, and thank goodness, because who doesn't love him? And George also said, however, that despite studio pressure to complete the film on time, William Shatner maintained a creative and enthusiastic atmosphere on set. And, quote, "I have enormous admiration for his ability to block that kind of pressure from seeping onto the set. Moreover, Takei acknowledged, despite our sometimes strained personal history, I found working with Bill as a director to be surprisingly pleasant."
He always seems very gentlemanly, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think he is a very gentle, calm, kind human being.
Yeah, proper gent. Not that his career hasn't been without its challenges, and in fact, in this film, he said his biggest challenge was learning how to ride a horse.
Which, you know what, it's not that easy to do as an adult if you've never done it before. Because I remember having a few horse riding lessons as a kid and just sort of adjusting to it right away, and then not riding at all for a great number of years, and getting back on a horse as an adult. It's just completely alien to me now. I don't think I could do it unless I had proper lessons. So props to him for that, because it is hard as an adult to learn something new.
Can I share a story about horse riding with you?
Yeah.
A few years ago, I started having horse riding lessons for the first time in my life. I'm probably going back about 6-7 years, something like that, maybe a little bit more. And I was going along every week, and I'm trying to get the hang of this. I forget the name they call for it now, where you push down with your feet and you rise as the horse rises and down, and as the horse is moving along, you're bouncing basically.
Yeah.
And I wasn't quite getting the movement, and it was like 2 or 3 weeks. And eventually, like the woman, I mean, she's a brilliant instructor. She had a lot of patience with me, which she needed. And eventually, she said to me, "Well, as you're doing it," I'm like, because I'm trying to get to grips with what she's trying to tell me, and I'm not getting it, and it's not gelling right. And she says, "Well, as you do it," and she got quite flustered, and she said, "But sort of pump your hips like you're making love." Oh, right, okay. So I did. And it all clicked into place suddenly. It's like, right, I'm supposed to be thrusting. Got it. I was going straight up and down, you see, like, which is not the right way to do it, but I was, got it. And that helped. Told you I was going to get in trouble on this stream today.
Moving on. William Shatner's cut ran slightly over 2 hours, not including the end credits or the opticals, which Paramount Studios thought was too long. Their target runtime was 1 hour, 45 minutes, which would guarantee twice nightly theatrical screenings. Harvey Bennett was handed the task of shortening the film's running time, despite Shatner's view that nothing could possibly be removed. Typical director's stance there. Shatner was so horrified by Bennett's edit that the two had to haggle over what parts to restore or delete. Now, this seems to be quite a running theme with directors and things like this. This has happened in so many different franchises. It's absolutely insane.
Yes, but have you seen the deleted scenes from the Blu-ray?
No.
Oh, I did. And they are cringy.
So I watched this on Now TV because I just got a free trial to watch it online. But I don't think the bloopers are on there. Have you got the DVD?
Yeah, I got the Blu-ray kit. Yeah, it's got several deleted, and they are all really cringy. You've got Korg being incredibly misogynistic towards the Romulan ambassador, like really badly misogynistic.
Oh, I don't like that.
Yeah, it was really uncomfortable watching.
What was it?
They're probably on YouTube. Saying things like, like she comes in and introduces herself, and he says in Klingon that, because they come up with the subtitles, it says, "Oh, the only good female Romulan is one that's on her back." He tells her she should be opening her blouse because he's heard that Romulans are different. Yeah, it's really, and as Ed said, it is very un-Klingon.
Who wrote this?
They had a committee of writers, but you can guess it was maybe behind that. But yeah, deleted scenes. Watch them, make your own mind up, or don't. Don't. They were terrible. So speaking of the writing, moving on from that, originally in one of the early scripts, Spock and McCoy were going to side with Sybok. However, Leonard Nimoy and DeForest Kelley objected, saying their characters would never betray Captain Kirk. Gene Roddenberry backed them up and agreed. Yeah,
I sort of got the vibe while I was watching it that they may have been angling for Spock to sort of side with Sybok, but then Sybok asks him to go with him to the bridge, and he says, "I'm not going to do that." And I was just like, "Yeah, that's a good way to go about it," because it's like Spock just doesn't want to assist either of them too much. He just doesn't want to be involved. That's the vibe I got from it anyway. But that seemed more logical, for want of the better word.
Don't make me choose. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, and I think maybe perhaps the idea of sort of retconning him a brother from another mother, that they could have had that without him being his brother. I think perhaps like a school friend or a childhood friend or something like that would have worked just as well. Because there's people from my childhood who I value as sisters who, I couldn't betray. But it doesn't mean we're actually related.
Captain Quinn says, a cousin.
Yeah. A cousin, yeah. It could have been a cousin. Although there's a couple
mentor.
of... Yeah. I do think there are a couple of my cousins, though, who I definitely would betray. But,
and that's now public knowledge. Do you want to name them?
No.
No, okay.
And actually, I'm not friends with these people on Facebook, so you won't be able to find out who they are either.
Right.
Anyway, stuntman Kenny Bates is credited with the highest descender fall in the United States when he was standing in for William Shatner's fall from El Capitan. That
one that you said looked so fake.
Yeah. Well, you know what? If he got the highest fall, good for him. Good for that stuntman doing his job to a T. It's the special effects people who ruined it for everyone else.
Yes. Originally, speaking of that climb, the opening of Kirk's El Capitan ascent would have been a galactic shot of the Milky Way, zooming into the solar system and finally coming into an aerial view of Yosemite. However, that was too expensive to film. But they did do a similar tracking shot years later at the beginning of First Contact during Picard's Borg assimilation flashback dream.
You know, I've always wanted to go to Yosemite. I think it's got to be one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen in photographs.
I've always fancied Yellowstone, as that's going to be the place that ends all mankind.
Ooh.
There's a massive caldera under there that will be a basically, level of dinosaur extinction level event when it finally explodes, and it's 40,000 years overdue.
Oh, amazing.
So that's why I want to go to Yellowstone. I hate humanity so much.
Just poke it with a stick. Come on, hurry up.
Yeah,
You're late.
Stamping my feet.
Well, at least, you poke it with a stick, it goes off. You're one of the first to go. You've got very minimal suffering to have there. So I think that's probably a good shout. Maybe it's not too late for us to switch up our trip to Chicago. We just go to Yellowstone at the end. Done.
Yeah, that's it. I talk about sort of ground zero, and I would instantly always think of nuclear explosions. And Fallout Boy, and he's got the thumb out. Do you know what that is?
No.
If a nuclear explosion goes off and you can see the mushroom cloud, hold your thumb up to it, because if your thumb doesn't entirely cover the mushroom cloud, you're dying of radiation poisoning, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Oh, good to know. I'll remember that next time.
That's what the Fallout Boy thing is. That's why he's putting his thumb out, is to see if he's going to die from the radiation.
So does it have to be is it the height of the mushroom cloud, or is it the width?
No, it's the width. It's the width.
Ah, okay. Okay.
It's got to be arm's length. Yeah. If your thumb doesn't completely cover it, you're already dead. Cheerful.
Love it. William Shatner, in an interview on E! Entertainment Television, said that David Warner's character was going to have a prop that consisted of a self-lighting cigarette, and according to Shatner, they simply forgot to use this in one of the scenes, even though the prop had been made, actually worked, and cost thousands of dollars.
I know, right? The amount, I don't know if you've been on any big movie sets.
I've done more TV than I have film, but yeah, some very big ones.
TV's just as bad, right? The amount of money that is wasted.
Oh, it's criminal. It's actually criminal.
Really is. All I want is 30,000 to make my sitcom.
It's just, it's awful. Yeah. And you know what really bugs me about this is that if they'd just scrapped that prop entirely and used those thousands of dollars, they could have made that fall look even better.
They could have.
Just saying. Just saying.
Yeah.
Spend it on the special effects.
Indeed.
Get a better green screen. Well, I don't know.
Okay, but they did make some efforts to save some money by reusing existing sets. For example, the Enterprise D corridor sets from the Next Generation were used as Enterprise A corridors in this film. They only made very, very few cosmetic alterations so as not to interfere with the filming of the TV series, which was underway at the same time.
Lovely.
So
and also, yes, and in keeping with that theme, they did reuse the sickbay set from the Next Generation, which is unaltered in this film, making this the first chronological appearance of the LCAR's computer system.
Yes, it's very, very blurry in the background, but it is actually on there. Now, initially, ever the optimist, the Shat believed that this film would get a positive response. And in the morning, after the opening night, he woke up Leonard Nimoy, I'm guessing by telephone, not by nudge, to tell him that the LA Times had given the film a positive review. I mean, that sounds like he's look, it got a positive review. Shortly after that, a local TV reporter also gave the film a good review, and Shatner recalled that he incorrectly began sensing a positive trend. He later agreed that the film, however, nearly ended the movie franchise, and looking back on the film, he called it himself a failed but glorious attempt at a thought-provoking film that did not come together. That's a fair assessment, I think.
Well, at least he's honest with himself.
Yeah. And you know what? Credit to that. We knock the chat a lot on this, but credit for the self-awareness it took to realise that.
Yeah, it may be the only time he's ever been self-aware, but he's got the capability in there somewhere. Oh dear.
It would take a lot to avoid it.
Yeah. This was also the only Star Trek film to win or even ever be nominated for the Golden Raspberry Award for Worst Picture, which I sort of hinted at earlier when I was like, he's reaching for a raspberry. He won the raspberry. He reached the raspberry. He has the raspberry for this film. So, Congrats.
Yes. Oh, so there we go. It's there. It's in the franchise. It's a thing. And it's not... I know I've said it in the past on this show. The worst Star Trek film is still better than no Star Trek film.
Yeah, because I did enjoy watching it, because it's still all the characters that we all know and love, and it's it's an interesting concept and it was entertaining. But yeah, it's just not the most polished or the most well thought out. That's all. But yeah.
No. And we get introduced to this little beauty behind me here, the Enterprise A. Although she was in service for less than 10 years. That's nothing for a ship. Weird. I don't understand why they built a ship only to scrap her a few years later. That makes no sense to me.
They're just made of money, apparently. They can just do what they want.
Well, yeah, indeed. Right. So, obviously, God plays a big part in this film, or not quite God. But shall we have a look at religion in Star Wars? You've been eager to talk about this one, haven't you?
Yes.
So within Star Trek, most races have some form of religion, which is quite interesting. It'd be interesting to see a race that actively did not have a religion or didn't have one in their past, and see how that sociologically would make them different. But some that are specifically mentioned across the series are, of course, the Bajorans, the Darcy, the Dominion, the Ferengi, humans, of course, the Klingons, the Ventaxians, and the Vulcans.
And some races have also had religions created by external forces or external aliens, such as the Ocampa, who treated the caretaker almost like a god. The Mintakans elevated Picard to a godlike overseer, and the Takarians and the Song of the Sages. So yeah, quite a few outside elements going on there.
Indeed. So to look at some of those, the Vulcans, now you would think as a logical race they would be beyond a religion, but well, it's obviously mentioned in Star Trek V. They have this belief about a creator god and a place of creation, Shakari. But would you say that the logical teachings of Sorak are a religion, or is that more of a philosophy, or where does that
It's more of a
divide
philosophy, definitely. And I did a bit of reading on this before coming online, because I don't know too much about the Vulcan religion. And what I read basically said that as their race became more logical and more rational and things like this, they found that they needed almost the routine to balance out the purity of their logic. So they just held on to the traditions that came along with their religion without necessarily believing in something they couldn't prove. But then there's also the logic of being unable to prove a negative. So in that sense, it may be logical to be agnostic at least, because you can't prove that God doesn't exist.
Yes, that's a good point. But certainly in Enterprise, they're very quick to say about, well, they've proven that time travel is impossible, so they're kind of proving the negative there.
But then we know it's not impossible because it happened later.
We know it's absolutely so. There's that episode of The Next Generation as well where Picard gets abducted by the archaeologists who are marauders, and he has to piece together the ancient Vulcan artifact that has the figures of gods on it. So historically, at least, they believed in gods.
Oh yeah, they absolutely in their history. But
I've forgotten the name.
You could see that in ancient human religion as well. Like, it changes over time, and that's quite a natural phenomenon to happen. And I can understand that happening in other races from other worlds as well. So it does make sense to me.
Yeah. Cool.
Now, what about the Klingon religion? Because this is one I know a little bit more about, I think.
Well, they talk about it in the show quite a bit more. There's I love the idea of Klingon religion, because there's a quote from, I think it's Deep Space Nine, when Worf says that the Klingons killed their gods because they were too much trouble.
Yeah, yeah, I love that because it just makes sense. It's like, yeah, we believe in you, but we don't like you, so you're off. You're getting rid of now. We're done with you. When I think about the Klingon religion, I always think about their perception of the afterlife, and Sto-vo-kor, and the journey to Sto-vo-kor on the ship and things like that. And that episode of Voyager where B'Elanna does she go into a coma or something, and it never really explains to you whether it's real or whether it's in her imagination, when she's on the ship to Sto-vo-kor and she sees her mother, and she has like a sort of, she has to prove herself to her mother or something. And I always think about that, because I'm like, wow, what if we thought our afterlife was something like that? I mean, I know there have been human religions with a similar sort of belief, like the sort of, was it Greek mythology where they had to give a coin to Sharon, who would take them across the river Styx? Was it the river Styx? Yeah,
yes.
With all the lost souls in it and stuff like that. So it's vaguely similar to something that ancient humans did believe. I find this kind of stuff fascinating.
I associate, and we've had a couple of Ed is straight in there saying it's actually one obol is the coin that you would give. Well in there, and yes, it was the episode with the Vulcan artifact was Gambit parts 1 and 2. Well done, Ben. Yes, the Klingon religion always puts me more in mind of the sort of the Norse gods and the Rainbow Bridge and the Valhalla. That's the word I'm thinking of. Feasting in the great halls and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, because they are quite Viking-like, aren't they? Always, seeking a battle, seeking glory and that kind of thing, which is very much in line with Viking beliefs. That's really interesting.
Yeah. But was B'Elanna on the way to Sto-vo-kor? I know she was on the Barge of the Dead, or was she on the way to Grethor, the Klingon devil. What's the name of the
possibly. And she was trying to
underworld?
save her mother, wasn't she, from going to the bad place?
Yeah, I've forgotten the name of the Klingon hell. But yeah.
It's been a while since I watched that episode.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, Grethor.
Wasn't Grethor their version of Satan?
Grethor was the Klingon equivalent to the Terran hell, their antithesis to Stovacor. It was where the souls of the dishonored went when they died after being ferried there on the barge of the dead in the waters inhabited by Koskari. The insignia of Grethor and dishonored Klingons was an inverted emblem of the Klingon Empire. In Klingon mythology, the gates of Grethor were guarded by the monster figure known as Thekla.
Thekla, that's it. Yeah, because in the episode Devil's Due, Ardra appears as Thekla.
Yes, that's the one. Oh my God, and it's got that really grim face.
Yeah.
Oh, love it. Love a bit of mythology.
And Ed has come straight in again. The Klingon bargeman is Kortar, who was the first Klingon. And of course, on Starship Adventures, our folks have just visited Kortar Station. There you go.
And of course, Klingons also have their strongly held beliefs about Kahless as well.
Yes. Now, is that? I suppose that is religion, isn't it? Because they think he'll return.
Yeah, because it's sort of like their version of the Messiah in a way that we have in a lot of human religions. They often have some sort of prophet or Messiah that's going to return from the dead. And that's not just in Christianity. This happens in a lot of different religions.
Yes. There's an interesting thing in beta canon that I absolutely love, because you'll probably be familiar with The Next Generation when they resurrected or cloned Kahless. And it became the Emperor. Well, actually, in beta canon, they made a mistake, because the knife that they took the blood from to reconstitute his DNA and all the rest of it was actually the knife that was used to stab his brother. So it's Kahless's brother who has been cloned.
Oh. How do you know this? That wasn't in the episode, was it?
No. That's beta canon. So I think it's in one of the books, one of the novels.
Oh, interesting.
I just like that little,
So it's not like official canon in the series or anything. It's just in the book. No. Oh, okay, cool. Because I realised after I started reading Full Circle that it's not actually canon, and I got so excited that Janeway and Chakotay were like going to get married and stuff, and I was like, but it's not canon.
We've said this about canon though. If you want it to be canon, it's canon. Up here is where you decide.
This is where it counts. And in my head,
absolutely,
Janeway and Chakotay are happily married and have beautiful children.
There we go. And don't hold the same opinions as the actors who play them.
No. We're better than that.
Fantastic. Oh, Captain Quincy Molar, that's the brother.
Molar.
Yes. Molar. And Ed has said that with Kahless, of course, he doesn't claim to be supernatural at all.
No, because he's aware that he's a clone. But I think it's the beliefs of like early Klingons who are like convinced that he's going to return. And also this is in Voyager as well. Their beliefs about the Kuvar Mar, who is they think B'Elanna's daughter is the Kuvar Mar, who's going to be their sort of their prophet, their guide, who's going to like be their savior and stuff like that. That is quite reminiscent of a lot of religions that we hold on our planet. So,
well, I mean, they've clearly used real life religions as inspiration.
Yeah. I mean, it's write what you know, isn't it? But just change. It's like when you copy someone's homework, you just change a few words so you don't get accused of plagiarism.
Yes, absolutely. Moving on, though, one that I'm not aware of any influences from the real world, although feel free to correct me in this, is the Ferengi religion.
I know exactly where this one's from. This is based on all of those businessmen in Wall Street.
Okay.
I'm joking. It's just I think this is quite a comical one, isn't it? Because it's just about pure greed and the sort of constant desire for profit and gain and all that kind of thing. And in a way, I see the Ferengi culture as a sort of satire on our culture today, but just to the max, they've sort of amped it up a bit to make it more ridiculous.
It is. I mean, it is a commentary on capitalism, but I think fair play to the. I mean, it was in Deep Space Nine. Really, it totally came into its own with Quark, but I think they actually took it to a really interesting place where, in of itself, it wasn't necessarily bad. It was just a different way of looking at the world. I mean, usually it was pretty bad, but morality is a very it's shades of grey. It's not black and white, and just because we have our morality, just because someone else's morality is different, doesn't necessarily make it wrong. It's right for them.
But is it right for them, or are they just not evolved enough?
But well, that's the question: is by whose standard and whose definition have evolved? There's a scene in Little Green Men when they're heading off to Earth, and Nog is talking enthusiastically about the humans and how they developed, and he's saying about how quickly they developed warp drive and all the rest of it, and I think Quark responds and says, yeah, but bear in mind they didn't have a single planetary currency until such and such, and so it's just a different form of measure. I'm not trying to defend them. I'm just saying it doesn't fit with my morality, but it's a different morality.
Yeah, I mean, there's other ways you can look at it as well, isn't there? What works for them, financially, maybe doesn't work for them in other ways. Because there's the episodes where Quark's mother is involved, for example, Moogie, it's illegal for female Ferengi to go out and earn money or even wear clothes and things like that. And that's sort of, I interpreted that to be heavily influenced by their religion about profit and their, rules of acquisition and things like that. And if that wasn't an issue for Moogie, she wouldn't have wanted to go out and earn profit and put clothes on. And it was an issue for her. And so she did those things. And that it reminded me of the sort of the struggles that women in our society went through in order to gain things like the vote and, own property and earn a living wage and stuff like that, which, the rules that prevented women from doing those things were heavily influenced by the church. So in that sense, I don't agree that religion that is that controlling of its people is good.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's an excellent analogy. I'm curious though. I can't think of an example where the religion of the Ferengis says anything about females at all.
No, and it doesn't explicitly say that. Like I said, it's just my interpretation of it. But they hold on to their sort of their religion and their rules of acquisition and things like that, in the same way that Catholics and other types of Christians from a few hundred years ago would quote passages of the Bible in order to keep women subservient. And it just made me wonder if that was an element of it, like you said, it's not explicitly stated in the show, but it made me think perhaps if their religion wasn't so all-consuming, maybe their gender equality would be more progressive.
Quite probably. I mean, the gender equality, you would think for a capitalistic society, gender equality would be something they'd strive towards. I mean, there's even that episode when Quark says, like, well, if women can go out and earn profit, they'll spend profit, and they'll want to buy clothes, and that's a whole market out there, and they'll want pockets, and they'll want to fill those pockets, and so it's like you're increasing your workforce and your customer base, doubling it overnight, so it does fly in the face of capitalism in that.
You know what, I do love Quark's sort of character progression, because he wouldn't have said that in like season 1 of DS9, but towards the end of it, he does start having these ideas, and I really appreciate that about his character.
Yes. I mean, that particular episode is very problematic in other ways, to say. But yes, no, I love Quark as a character. He's one of my favourites.
Yeah. Definitely.
That's the Ferengis.
Yeah, excellent Ferengi religion. And moving on to the next one is the Dominion. Mad little pocket of interesting stuff going on there. I'm not going to lie, I don't know a whole lot about their particular religion.
Well, it's the founders. And that's an interesting one, because their gods are real and there, and they can talk to them, and they're in person, as it were, and they are the creator. They're certainly the creators of the Jem'Hadar. The stories that the Vorta have about them, having been simple ape-like creatures, and then the founders sort of evolved them to become the sentient species that they are.
Does that really count as a religion? Like, because the founders are like just other aliens, aren't they? They're not really gods.
Well, where's the difference?
I guess it's all about your perception of what classes as a god and what's just another life form. Because from sort of Starfleet's perspective, the entities that live in the wormhole are just another form of life, but the Bajorans definitely see them as gods, the prophets, and those kinds of perceptions are quite valid.
In both cases, the people worshipping as gods, so the Bajorans and the Dominion, they know what their gods are. I mean, the Bajorans still know that the prophets are wormhole aliens, but they are also the prophets. They can be both. And it's the same with the Dominion. They know that their gods are people who walk about and take other forms and what have you, but they're also their gods.
I'm going to start making notes, because one day people will see me as a god. I'm going to make this happen. I'm a human, but I'm also a god. You must all do what I say.
There are people out there that have made careers doing exactly that.
People who start cults. Oh my God, am I going to have to start a cult? That's a lot of effort.
I once, I once had someone do past life reading on me, and did say that I used to be a cult leader. Not quite Aleister Crowley, but of that ilk.
Oh my God! Wow. I actually
I can see it.
I am friends with someone on TikTok who recently posted, a couple of months ago, posted a video saying that when they were growing up, they were sort of raised in a cult and are now not part of it. But I was just like, wow. Like, these are just things you don't hear about them happening in everyday life. But it's mad to think that, real people actually go through these things and survive these things.
Yes. And maybe we should start the cult of Star Trek. Although, if we're going to claim to be messengers from God, or we ought to stop doing this. Yeah, maybe not that, but
Goodness me. Yeah. Well,
oh,
I feel like
fantastic.
the analogy between sort of the Dominion beliefs and Bajoran beliefs leads us quite on to the last one, doesn't it?
Well, it does. So I mean, oh gosh. So the Bajorans absolutely love their whole religion, and yeah. So with them, they get to talk to their prophets through the orbs. It's and they get to talk to their emissary. It's all very tangible, but that's I think sort of leading on to the more general discussion. It's kind of what I say, you know. We talk about sort of aliens coming in and being perceived as gods, but where does that difference lie? I'm reminded of the Arthur C. Clarke quote about to a primitive. I'm totally paraphrasing this, so apologies because I'm going to get this quote utterly wrong. But to a primitive society, any sufficiently advanced technology would appear as magic. You can also say divine. It could appear as divine. Hi, Osha. Good to see you. You're not late. You're just in time. And you can always catch up the earlier bits on demand if you wish.
Sure.
Yeah, so technology can look like magic to primitive species. That's it. Thanks, Captain Quinn. So yeah, so if you apply the same, you know, if it's divine, where's the difference?
And there's a theme as well of other beings that have different abilities, you know, that perhaps, you know, humans or the other people from Starfleet don't have an understanding of. You know, you mentioned Ardra earlier, who sort of appears to shapeshift and become different different beings, and that's perceived as like some kind of god or trickster or whatever. And you know, those kinds of differences between species lend themselves to wonder, I think.
Well, yes, yes. Sorry, Ben, you had mentioned the quote earlier from Arthur C. Clarke, and I've missed it there. Ben has also mentioned the Picard, of course, from the Proto-Vulcan species. They see him as the overseer.
Yeah.
I've forgotten the name of that episode. Yeah, it's just really this line between how would you define a god?
Well, in the way I've been taught about religion, a god must be omniscient, omnipresent, you know, they know everything, they can be everywhere at once, they have unlimited power, that kind of thing. So from a human perspective, not all of these perceptions of gods actually fit the definition. But, you know, a lot of these species will have their own definition of what constitutes a god. And, you know, whether or not their religion is based on our perception of what a god is irrelevant, really.
Yes.
Does that make sense? I'm trying to put it into words.
It does. And interestingly, there is a character in the Star Trek universe who meets that criteria, and even at one point in one episode says he is God.
Q.
And that's Q.
Yes! I love Q.
Absolutely.
One of my favourite characters across the franchise. Absolutely amazing character.
I'm currently reading the Q Continuum trilogy books. I'm on the first one, Q Space, and they actually talk about the god creature from Star Trek V in it. Yeah.
What do they say about that in the book?
So, spoiler alert, he was trapped there by Q.
Ah, now that makes sense. Why? Do they give a reason?
I haven't got that far in the book yet.
Ah, okay. So the book's sort of explaining it a bit more.
It
Interesting.
is definitely going into it. And Usher says completely different IP, but Mass Effect. In Mass Effect, a lot of the species believe that the ones that came before are their gods, and the more you find out, they had precursors as well. Yeah. And Ben has mentioned about Janeway and Paris. Weren't they everywhere at the same time at some point as well? Omnipresent?
I guess, yeah.
In
when they
the
broke
best
the
Voyager
barrier.
episode that there is.
We love Threshold. We love little salamander babies. Yeah, so I guess in a way they were briefly, potentially.
Omnipresent.
But they were omnipresent, but maybe not. But actually, definitely not omniscient, because they weren't conscious of everything in the universe. They were omnipresent, so they're sort of filling like half the criteria.
They're demigods then.
Yeah, maybe. So that means that their little salamander babies are like demigods, a quarter god.
This is getting very much like Greek mythology now. There's a lot of
yeah.
You know what?
I always wanted like a follow-up on what happened to those salamander babies.
Don't we all? That's what we're crying out. I mean, why would they leave them there? That's what I don't. Oh.
I know it's kind of really wrong, but I always thought that they should have been destroyed, because introducing that new life form to that planet is going to change the habitat, it's going to change the ecosystem. You know, a lot of damage could be done to that planet by those new creatures. I don't know.
I think destroying them would have been a bit harsh. But
I know, but I was all for destroying Tuvix, so.
Well, yeah. We don't want to square up for that one again.
Oh, that was our first live stream together, Stu.
That was. Never forget Tuvix. Never forget, never forgive. Brilliant. But do you know what? I think Captain Quinn has said the best comment regarding the gods and the religions. Cats are most definitely gods.
Oh, yeah. I can see that.
We can all agree on that. Yeah. Janeway and Paris's baby should have graduated in the USA this week from university. Is that episode that old? Goodness.
Madness.
That doesn't make me feel at all old. That's Kira's job.
I haven't done it yet this week. Just a reminder, Stu. You're almost the same age as my mum. I'm a youngster. I was born in '94. Does that cover it?
That'll do.
Do you know what? I can add something to make you feel better.
Oh.
I found some grey hairs.
Right.
I've got 3.
Okay.
I've got 3 grey hairs, so I'm getting old.
Yes, that's not getting old. One of my exes, she was completely grey by the age of 21.
Oh, wow. That's unusual.
All over. Yeah, I mean, she dyed her hair. She would never, ever let me see her without her hair dyed.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness, look at the time. We should probably...
crikey. Yeah, let's dive on it. Well, so your cosplay. Let's talk about that.
Here's cosplay corner. So, let me go and grab what I was making. And if anyone wants to have a guess now in the chat at what I was making... Do that now. You've got like literally 1 minute, and then I will reveal it.
I'll tell you what. If you need to go get it, why don't I do the Divine Treasury first? Okay.
No, it's just right here.
Okay, so let's see your guesses in the chat. What is it that Kira has been working on? I think we just saw very almost quick flag. Oh, a visor.
We've had
from Ed.
No.
A drum roll.
You want to see?
Yeah,
I'll give you a
I
peek
need to
from the corner.
Oh, it's grey. You can see that.
It's not going to stay grey. What about if I do this? Oh.
And yeah, Captain Quinn is there with a batleth.
Yes.
And Ed is in there as well. Yes, a batleth.
Yeah.
So, what have you got so far?
This is the shape that my batleth will be. I didn't want it to be too big because I'm quite short. And I thought if I made it too big, it would just look ridiculous. So I just got a sort of little one. The issue that I was facing was that the EVA foam I ordered was too flimsy. So if I don't hold it with both hands,
oh yeah,
that's really sloppy. So I thought, well, let me just cut out two and then I'll stick them together. But then when I actually just sort of put them together, I was like, well, it's still really bendy. So this is literally useless. So I'm going to keep these as like stencils, and I'm going to order some more foam that's thicker and more durable. I'm very lucky that my housemate has lots of spray paint. So I just need to order some new foam, some like spray-on adhesive to seal the foam, and then I will spray paint them silver, get some faux leather to make the straps around here, and then I will have a convention-safe batleth of my very own. But yeah, so this is why I don't have the full product to show you this week, because the foam is really flimsy. But yeah, so at least you can see what I've been working on, what I've been attempting to do. But yeah, that's Kira's cosplay this week. And I will upload a couple of videos to my TikTok as well, just to show like the progress of it all. So yeah, if you want to have a look at my TikTok, I'll probably post it on my Twitter as well. My TikTok is @KiraSpirit, and my Twitter is @Lieutenant Kira. So yeah, go and have a look if you want to. I'll put them up maybe tonight or tomorrow.
Excellent. And we've had a couple of suggestions from Captain Quinn, who suggests maybe stiffen it with a bit of plastic and glue, then paint it.
Yeah, I did consider that, but the actual foam itself is so thin, it's like almost paper thin. So even if I did make it stiffer, it would still look too thin to be like believable as a batleth. But yeah, and I thought, maybe having two of them together would make it more believable, but even still, like,
yeah,
it's so thin. Yeah. I just need different foam. I'll be happier with it once I've got other foam, I think.
So you can get that really thick, sort of like almost 1/2 inch.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I thought that was when I ordered it, and when it arrived, I was like, oh my god, this is tiny. But never mind, you live and you learn.
You do, absolutely. I mean, Ed has suggested maybe a template over some MDF. But have you got a bandsaw?
I do not, no. In fact, I don't even own a craft knife. I had to borrow my housemates to cut that out. So I'm not well equipped for crafting things.
Yeah, and Captain Quinn has said maybe a camping mat would work for stiffer foam.
Yeah, probably. I did think about cutting up my yoga mat, actually. I had a moment of, I was really frustrated, and I was like, I don't want to spend any more money on this. And I was like, oh, I could cut up my yoga mat. And then I was like, but if you do that, Kira, you can't do yoga anymore. So maybe not the best of my ideas.
You can do yoga, just not on a mat.
I like my mat.
Oh no, I'm not saying you should. I'm just saying it doesn't prevent you from doing yoga.
I know. Yeah, well, that's Kira's cosplay for this week. So, what have you got for us in the Divine Treasury, Stu?
Well, I am just going to paraphrase something that Ed has said.
Okay.
I'm going to change the wording, but, every project is a teacher.
Yes.
That's very, very true. So, this week in the Divine Treasury, I thought I would go for something sort of connected with religion in the fact that it stands at the mouth of the, what do they call it? The Divine Temple? It's not the Divine Temple. The Temple. of the profits. My goodness. The wormhole, which is, the temple thing. Anyway, it's Deep Space Nine, and this is the Eaglemoss XL version. They did
Very nice.
2. This was the 17th XL model in the collection, and they originally, when they started the whole Star Trek run, they did a smaller Deep Space Nine that came without a stand. There it is, side by side, to give you an idea for comparison. So I already had one, but then they released another with a stand, and here it is. And I really like this. It is so detailed, and I just love the design of the Deep Space Nine station.
I love
Captain Quinn says the bike wheel. So there we are. It is completely die-cast, which is unusual for Eaglemoss. You've got the reactor down the bottom. Yeah, it's a very, very nice model. I really, really like it. I have to be careful how it sits on the stand, make sure that it sits properly, and it's nice for it to have a stand. I always worry with the smaller one, because it stands on the actual surface, that the paint's going to rub off. I always worry about that. I need to get some felt or something. But yeah, there we are. That is this week's model.
Beautiful.
That was a nice, quick one, wasn't it?
Yeah, I like that.
Excuse me, coughing away.
Love it.
Right.
Well, shall we head over to Trek News?
Let's.
Yes. The first bit of news we have for you this week is about Lower Decks. Season 2 will be released in the US in a couple of months. Season 3 production has already started, and Tawny Newsome, who plays Beckett Mariner, posted a selfie in the recording studio on Instagram last Sunday saying Season 3 and the Lower Decks hashtag. How exciting!
Very exciting. And of course, it's really good to know that they're launching straight in with Season 3 before Season 2 has even come out.
It's because it's been so popular. It absolutely is so popular. Why would they not want to just bosh them all out as quick as they can?
Totally. I think they're absolutely nailing it with Lower Decks. It just, it's absolute perfection. I love it. So, Eaglemoss, my favourite company who do get things wrong occasionally. It's not quite Christmas yet, but they have just launched this year's Advent calendar. It is a Borg cube with drawers that slide out, each one containing a number of Star Trek related gifts.
I want it.
24. You do, and do you know what? You really do want this, because there are some amazing gifts inside. It comes with a set of coasters, okay, socks. I mean, what Christmas would be complete without socks? There's a mug. It's that level of thing. It's not like a chocolate behind each door. It is a proper item. And this Borg cube stands. I've not had the dimensions, but if one of the boxes in one of these drawers contains a mug, it's got to be pretty huge.
Yeah.
I think.
Sounds like it's going to set us back a pretty penny as well, though.
Yes, it will. But, and I'll come on to the price in just a moment so that the viewers can brace themselves for that. But the box itself, it's not a one-use item. The box itself is designed that you'd be able to reuse it afterwards as storage, basically as a storage cabinet. Which I desperately need. The price is actually not that bad, I think, for what you're actually getting. It's £109.99, or in the US, $139.95. And of course, you can get it from Captain Quinn was guessing probably around £1,000 No, it's just 110 quid.
See, for me, that's
nice.
quite a lot of money. I don't think I would spend that on myself. But I might talk to Danny and see if he'll buy me one.
Yeah, it is. It is. Now, trouble is, as I'm like an Eaglemoss collector and a completionist, and I've spent more than that on ships.
Really? On individual ships?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the large gold Enterprise was rather more than that.
How much was the gold Enterprise?
Nearly 150.
Jesus. There I was thinking these little ships were like 30 quid or something.
Oh, the little ones are, yes. But the big ones. And it's gold. It's gold plated.
It's real gold.
It's gold. Yeah. So you can get all those things, of course, from the website herocollector.com.
Amazing. I'm going to add that.
Captain Quinn has said all the items must be end-of-line things. I don't believe so. I think some of them are specifically for this Borg cube, which, again, as a collector, as a completionist, I must have it all.
I want it all.
Yes.
Oh, dear me. Well, the last piece of Trek news we have for you this week is again about Strange New Worlds, which we had some for you last week as well. Production continues, and currently they are shooting episode 8, which will be directed by Amanda Rowe. And Strange New Worlds will be a 10-episode series, which means that they are close to completing the first one. That's amazing.
Very exciting. Interesting that it's going to be a 10-episode series as well, because we know it's got this lighter air to it. So I wonder if that's kind of associated with it. And each one's going to be a standalone episode as well, we know.
Yeah. I'm quite looking forward to the standalone bits.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. The Jaunty Goblin has asked if I play Attack Wing at all, the Star Trek Minis game. And I do not. I have never played Attack Wing. I tend to do most of my gaming online. So no, I don't own Attack Wing.
What is Attack Wing?
Yeah, it's a tabletop game, Star Trek game.
Okay, I haven't played a tabletop game for years. I actually genuinely. Unless you count Scrabble. But I don't think it counts.
Yes, it does.
Does it count?
Yeah. Monopoly counts, Scrabble counts.
When I think like tabletop, I think like ones that have all the little counters that you move around and things like that. And in fact, the last one I played, I think, was The Thing. Have you played that?
The Thing?
The Thing, as in like the 80s film, The Thing.
Yeah. One of my favourite movies. I did not know there was a tabletop game of The Thing. Oh my God,
it's amazing. Stu, you'd love it. As an actor, I think I've won this game based purely on my acting skills, because you start the game off as characters and you get given a character card, and then you get given some random cards which you don't show to anyone, and someone gets given a card that makes them the Thing, and you have to lie to everyone you're playing with and convince them that you're a human. And the aim of the game is for all the humans to get on the helicopter, and for the person who's the Thing, they just have to sabotage all their missions and stuff. Oh my God, it's so much fun. So fun.
Wow, that does sound really, really... Sounds a bit like Among Us as well, which already reminded me of The Thing anyway.
Yeah, very similar.
Excellent. And you have sort of played a tabletop game because you played Star Trek Adventures.
This is true.
Even though we play it online, it is a tabletop game.
Oh, well, that makes sense. Love it.
There we go. And of course, we've got the next episode of Star Trek Adventures this coming Wednesday. Now, I haven't asked you this off air, Keira, but are you going to be able to make it this week, do you think?
I don't think I will be, I'm afraid. I'm so sorry.
That's no problem. Yeah. Okay. But everyone can watch it and see what happens in Keira's absence.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Everyone's going mad about the tabletop games. We do have an episode about Star Trek tabletop games coming up in the future. But not next week. Next week we are going to be doing a deep dive on recurring actors in Star Trek. Now, this is not people coming back playing the same characters. This is the same actor coming back and playing different characters each time. So we won't be mentioning Jeffrey Combs very much at all.
Oh my goodness. And then we will be discussing the Voyager episode Sankatsu, which has Jeffrey Combs in it playing yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't
so
your bit then.
we've mentioned him already, you see. We will be, of course, paying another visit to the Divine Treasury. Will we get anything Kira's cosplay, do you think?
Well, it depends if my new foam gets here in time for me to make any more progress on my Batleth. But if it doesn't, I will try and do a Klingon makeup tutorial instead of a Batleth. So you still get something Klingon from me.
Ooh, something to look forward to there. And what else are we going to have next week?
And then, as always, it wouldn't be an episode of Star Trek Sundays without the latest news from the Trekverse.
Yes, indeed. And do you know what news we'll be having next week?
No.
How can we possibly know? Sorry.
I was like, oh my God, have I missed something? Am I being dumb?
No. I'm just... What are your scrying powers like? Seeing into the future. Anyway. Oh dear, I've been in a funny mood for this episode.
It's been a long episode as well.
But it has been a huge amount of fun. So thank you, Kira. Thank you to everyone in the chat for joining us. Let's continue the discussion over on the Discord. The link is in the description below. We can have a good chat on there during the week. In the meantime, peace and long life.
Live long and prosper.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.